Hi, this is Sarah, the Stitchin mommy, and it's Monday, April 6th, and I'm here for my cross stitch update for the week. And things went pretty well this week with everything I was able to get done. Today is technically the start of spring break for my kids. Well, I guess as soon as they were done with their schoolwork on whatever day last week, they considered that the start of spring break. But this week is officially spring break. Doesn't look a whole lot different than before, other than there's no assignments, but I'm still trying to give them some brain work in addition to extra playtime and whatnot. So it's raining today and all last night, really hard rain, and it might keep raining until Tuesday. Tomorrow, I guess that's Tuesday. So very unusual for this time of year. So on my temperature tree, which I'll show you in a minute, it looks like March was cooler than either January or February. And we're getting more rain now, even in April, which the traditional saying April showers brings May flowers is never true in Southern California. It's usually like January or February showers bring March flowers, so it's anyways. We're doing good. Staying home almost exclusively. I'm doing groceries, getting groceries delivered, so I'm not even going out for that. We can afford the fees, so we figured let's do it. We're doing church at home. Any other things the kids are doing, youth group, Awana, they're all doing that by, online. And what else is there? We are still able to go outside to take walks, so we do that as often as we can. Maybe not today if it's raining, but my husband and I will at least go around the block during his lunch break and send the kids in the backyard while we go take a walk up by ourselves. And then Saturday we went out as a family and took a walk in a different part of the neighborhood where there's this huge grassy field that's just part of the neighborhood. No one's out there, and so we could throw the frisbee and run around, and so that's nice to be able to do that once a week. And so I feel for people who aren't allowed to do that, who have to stay in their house, because it is nice to be able to get out and get some fresh air once in a while. So I'm thankful for the blessings that we have even in this strange time. And I'm very thankful for stitching. So let's get to it. This past week, I typically do the challenges that are associated with the Enchanted Stitching Challenges group on Facebook, which is a Disney themed challenge group, and I've really enjoyed that this year. It seems to be just what I need to keep me motivated and spice things up a little bit. And so it's been a really fun thing for me. This week, they were kind of taking a break because it was mid-week, mid-months, between months. They pick a different movie every month to theme their challenges around. And so when it's at the break of the month, sometimes they do pop-up challenges or something different. And so this week, when I filmed last, there was nothing posted. But by the end of Monday, I think I didn't see it until Tuesday, but eventually sometime on Monday, they posted a lazy challenge. I forget what they called it. Just kind of a rest day, a rest week. So what we were allowed to do is stitch on whatever we wanted, as many pieces as we wanted. Didn't have to be just one, it could be a bunch, as long as you kept posting your start and finish photos in your comment area under your original comment. And so you get 1 point for every 100 stitches, so for the whole week, so until I think Saturday midnight. So I figured, well, I'll just keep the plans that I had already told you about and stick with those and just record them. So at that point I had before pictures, so I had not been counting, but what I had been working on was easy to go back and count. So I went ahead and counted my stitches until Saturday, and then on Sunday I worked on Simpsons and didn't count stitches on that, but I did get to work on it. So everything I wanted to do, I got done. So that's great. Where to begin? Got a whole pile here that's not organized. So let's see. First off, I was working on finishing up my things in March. And I wanted to work on my son's dragon ride a little bit because I hadn't done that yet in March. This is by Teresa Wensler. So I was working on the border. There's no more of this light color that I had been considering working on except for the border sections. And so I went ahead and just started in on the border, and it's this dark color I decided to work on, which made it easy to go back and count it up after the fact, because where I had highlighted was slightly brighter yellow than the previous highlighting, because it had been long enough since I had done border colors that the old highlight kind of changes color slightly. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. So I did some border work on this guy. Here's what it looked like last time. I'm going to try to get some pictures on the screen at the same time. It may not work out until next week, depending, because I want to try to like put it only on part of the screen, at least for a little while, so I can have a picture on the other side. I'm not sure how it's going to work yet. So we'll see. So if I'm not able to figure it out this week, you'll still see a before picture and then my current, but we'll see. We'll try to get things on the screen at the same time if I can figure it out in my program. So this is what it looks like now. And so I'll put it kind of off to the side, so hopefully you can see a sideways comparison to what it looks like, and then I'll bring it forward. So as you can see, I got the middle inside border completely finished, and then used up my string, I think on this side of the outside border, until that string was done. And this color is a blend, so I was working on that, and that's all I did, but that was a decent amount of stitching. This is on 28 count even weave by MCG Textiles in light blue. That was used to be at Hobby Lobby. Now they have a Zweigart brand there. I got 364 stitches in just the border, so that's pretty great. So that was my March progress on Dragon Ride. And then the next day I wanted to get one more rotation done on Anne of Green Gables, and wasn't sure how much I'd be able to get done in just the one day, especially since I had something else. I don't know if that was, I might have had to do Bible study that day, I'm not sure. Anyways, I was able to get like 414 stitches, and it was 2 colors in her sleeves, so you can be looking for that. This is what it was last time and before, and I'll try to do that on the side again. And then a little bit closer if I can. So I decided that there was a color in her sleeve that I really wanted to fill in the holes, and so I did that. And then there was one more color that was actually ecru, which in my bobbin box is at the front next to Blanc, but in the in Heaven and Earth Designs charts, at least, or the one in Pattern Keeper anyways, they had number 1 for Blanc way at the beginning, and ecru was way at the end. So since I had last time I worked on this, I started at the top and just started going down, filling in things, because I had done the white in his sleeve, and then just figured I'd just start at the top and go down. But since I wanted to fill in her sleeves, and I went to that ecru color, I'm like, that works. That's technically at the top. So I got 2 colors completed, mostly in Anne's shirt. So that's good. I don't have any plans to bring this out again until May, which is only next month. Like, where did the time go? We have 1 more month until Stitch Mania, or less than a month, actually. I'm still planning to do Monogamous Mania, so I'll work on this Monogamous Mania for the first 20 days in May, because it's 2020. So after that, I'll work on my family pieces and maybe start my Mill Hill butterflies, because Calico Whimsy here on Flosstube, Christine, she's thinking about doing a Mill Hill Mania. I don't want to like make her, you have to do it now. She mentioned it. She's considering doing a Mill Hill Mania with little ornaments. I have a couple button and beads kits by Mill Hill that I've never done any Mill Hill kits. So I have wanted to start that butterfly kit. So maybe the end of the month, sometime after the 20th, I'll start that. I also have a May Day celebration by Joan Elliott that I've never tried a Joan Elliott that might need to get started in May. I don't know. I'm not really feeling the starts right now, but I'll work on this guy until it's finished. And then when it's finished, I'll work on Quick Stitch Iris, which I'm actually going to be working on this week for my aunt. It's one of my monthly pieces, but I'll work on that one when this one's finished for the rest of the 20 days. However many days that ends up being. So that will be my monogamous May for the first 20 days. I like that plan. I'll stick with it. I will hopefully be able to fit them into some of the prompts in Enchanted Stitching. And if they don't fit, that's fine because I'm just doing my thing. But hopefully I can get them to fit for something and get a few little points for my group. So those were the two things I finished up in March on the 30th and 31st. And then April came around and I wanted to work on my husband and son's piece and my tree. I'm looking at what I have here. I guess I could show my son's piece. My husband's piece I didn't work on until Sunday, but I did get to it eventually. Here, let's put this over here. I've already showed that. Let's clear things out, shall we? So this is my son's piece, and I'm doing a color conversion to make it John Elway from the Denver Broncos and Charles Woodson from the Oakland Raiders back in the 90s. And this is what it looked like last time and where we are now. And I got, this is also on the same 28 count even weave that the dragon is on, 2/2. And I finished the lightest gray shade in the white, and that was over 300 stitches. I was kind of surprised at how much was left of that. I was hoping to get all the gray done. There's a good amount of the next shade in his shirt, but there's not as many little holes in his pants of that second color of gray, which is maybe why I thought there was less of the light color, because there was less of it in here, but there was more of it over here. Anyways, here on camera you can see it pretty well. When you're stitching it, it looks exactly like white. 762 is that color, and I got all of that done. So next time I can hopefully maybe get that darkest shade of gray done in the white areas and then do some back stitching. That could be fun before moving on to the other sections. So that was in some ways not as much as I was hoping to get done, and then other ways more, because it was like over 300 stitches, which is still really good. So I was just not expecting it to be that many needed to fill in all the holes, but so it took longer than I expected, but I am happy that I got that done. And then while we're talking about regular projects, I'll just show you this one too. This is the one I was doing for my husband. Still a secret. There was one time he walked in, we were ready to stop doing our own things and start watching a show before bed, and I had this open on my lap, which he can't really tell if he's just walking by. But I had this in my hand, and you can kind of see, you know, some of these things hanging down, which look a little bit suspicious if you love The Simpsons and you know what these shapes might be. And so I just kind of like crumpled it up in my hand just so he wouldn't glance over and see what I was doing. Anyways, still a secret. So here is what that looked like last time. And I got one length of yellow put in her arm. This is on 40 count Vertil even weave, 1/1. It's brighter than it is in person. Or it's kind of dark in here today because it's gloomy outside, but it's interesting. I can see some of the black behind it that has been, you know, tucked in or ran across the back. The yellow doesn't cover it up, which is maybe because it's half stitches. I don't know. Because the coverage seems okay, but then you notice some spots where you can see some things underneath the lighter color. So, oh well. I think when it's all said and done, it won't really matter. But her hair is blue. It's just hard to see today. So anyways, I got one length of that done, and that's good enough for now. I was kind of not sure if I would get to it at all, but I'm glad I did. So I can definitely keep making progress on that one. So my miscellaneous projects, I'll go over those real quick, and then we can talk about my plans for this coming week. So I got this owl, this Leslie Tier owl, the August version one. You can find it, it's called Owl Sampler on her blog, on her website. And you can get all of them, all the different months all at the same time. I got this finished, and I forget, I think I started it one time when we were watching TV and then just had to finish it because I just needed it done. So this is what it looked like before, and here it is now. And I got all the branch and the apple and his little feet backstitched, and then all the butterflies with their stems and stuff. I just realized I don't think I showed my son. He hadn't seen those butterflies finished. Every time I showed him, he said, they look like bows. They don't look like butterflies still. But now they have the little bodies in there. They look a little bit more like butterflies. So we got the word, I think since I videoed last, that school will be distance education for the rest of the school year, all the way until June. Which is probably the safe call because you never know. You don't want to like assume things are better, go back to school and have everything get worse again. So these are all for Teacher Appreciation Week. I already finished the Thankful, Grateful, Blessed for one teacher. Now this one's finished, and I still have the school day sampler for my daughter's teacher. So I'm thinking I will at some point just email them, get their address, and mail them these presents because I still want to give them to them. So my daughter is not really interested in stitching hers. She says she is, but whenever I suggest it, she doesn't want to, and I think it's partly because it's still a little bit hard to do, and then partly because there's usually something better to do with her brothers at the time, playing with them in some capacity. So I don't know whether or not she will participate much more in this last the school day sampler, so we'll see. At some point here, I'll pull it out some more and work on it, and maybe her seeing me work on it will make her want to do a little bit more. I hope she will at least do that little bird because she had been wanting to the whole time. So anyways, so no more progress on that one. I did, however, work on Bloomtopia. I had to get that one finished. I believe that was the week before. So the release number 5, I believe, came out on Wednesday. So I will include my clip that I filmed last week here for that. Hi, I'm going to share part 5 of the Bloomtopia Stitch Along. This is the Bloomtopia cross stitch along. There's also a quilt along that started in February, I think. And it's a free chart with a donation to Make-A-Wish. So mine, as you've been seeing all along, is done, theirs is done on gray, and mine is done on like a ivory Ada, or 28 count ivory Lugana, 1/1. So mine's really small and cute. And here's where I am now. And I have finished part 5, which is this one and this one. So there was 2 this time. So it made it a little bit more time consuming than like this one was for, was just this. So they're a variety of sizes. But overall, it really doesn't take very long. This time there was a lot of this light color, which I'm using Enchanted Garden by Victoria Motto. And there's not a ton of variegation in this one. I think my most favorite color is the red, the darker pink that I'm using, but this one was very soothing. There's something about this color on this fabric that's really soothing. So that was kind of nice. And this one had some little bubbles that go like match these bubbles up here. Although they ended up with a lighter shade of that color, which is, I guess I can show you some of these things. My favorite color I'm using is Rosebud by Color and Cotton. It's got a little bit more variegation in it. And this light blue that I'm using is Rainforest by Color and Cotton. And it's got some, it's greeny blue. And it has some darker bits that you can see little chunks of the darker bits. And then other parts are light. So those are some of the main ones I used this time. My green is Blarney Green by Victoria Motto. It's so nice and very cute. So that's my progress so far. The first, this part must have come out April 1st. So that today is March 30th. And I'll hopefully get a little leg up on part 6 so I'm not behind. And maybe I'll hold it back. Yeah, that's the color. It's more of a warm tan color. I believe it's called ivory. So there's my part 5, and now back to your regularly scheduled programming. And I think it's coming along pretty cute. And then I worked on part 5 on Sunday because I knew there will be parts of Sunday where I couldn't work on The Simpsons. So I went ahead and worked on part 5 and got that finished, I think. Yes, it's finished. So I will film a clip of that and show you that when it comes out on the 15th. I also, Fat Quarter Shop is going to have a mystery stitch along throughout the month of May, which I'm a little crazy, but I've decided to sign up for it as a pre-stitcher. So I'll get it ahead of time and stitch it ahead of time. But since I'm doing monogamous media, I thought it could be fun to have something small on the side if I'm doing something where I can't work on my main piece, like especially the Anne of Green Gables. It's really tiny and has, you know, a decent amount of confetti. If I have a time where I'm have to stitch in a different capacity where that's going to be hard to do, it would be nice to have something else to work on. Granted, I have other things to work on, like my tree and my other, the other teacher piece, but so anyways, I'm going to work on, this one's supposed to go through July, the Bloomtopia one, but I think I'm going to speed it up to try to finish it before May, like through the rest of the month of April, try to finish it, and just take video clips and pictures along the way so it's done and ready to upload whenever I need to share it with you guys. So it's off my plate for the other stitch along to come in. So we'll see if I can handle that. If I can't, it's fine. I'll maybe at least get a little bit ahead. So then I don't have to worry about my deadlines in May. Maybe I'll at least get that far ahead. My temperature tree, I did work on this on Saturday and counted my stitches towards that lazy mid between months goal in Enchanted Stitching. So this is what the temperature tree looks like. These are one of the temperature patterns in my shop. Oh, that reminded me. I had a couple things I wanted to say today and I totally have been forgotten, but I'll leave this out so it reminds me. And then I worked on that to get that caught up. So this is what it looked like last time I showed you, which it's been a little while, I think. And here it is now. So I've worked on one length of brown in the April branch so I could at least get April's leaves started and finish the leaves in May. So as of what I could work on Saturday, it is caught up. And this is 28 count, even weave in light blue, which you can get at Hobby Lobby right now. This is the Zweigart Artiste version, and it's 1/1 on 28 count. And this color is Cocoa Bean by Classic Colorworks, maybe? It was one that I was given a whole bunch of, so I figured, yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, so see all of these pinky shades? There's way more pinky shades in March than either of these previous months, which is so unusual for right now. We would probably normally be pretty yellow by now, which you can even kind of see based on the mock-up. This is 2017, so this branch in 2017 was quite a bit pinky, you know, back pinks and blues, and then into March there was some, you know, greens and yellows already, and April was greens. So I don't know, it's very different than before, but that's what makes these projects fun, because you can't predict it. So I hope to work on that at least a little bit to stay caught up. It's nice to work on like once a week, and then you can, it's pretty easy to stay caught up on. And maybe I'll do a little bit more Bloomtopia at some point to keep progressing on that. I'll do that at the end. Oh yeah, I was going to show you. I had a request to show what my backs look like. So maybe on these next ones I'll show you my backs, because I don't want to get the other ones back out again. I don't really care about what my back looks like. I know some people really stress about that, and historically I think it's been a thing that people cared about. So when you learned how to stitch from somebody who cared about that, you'll probably care about it. The people who taught me were pretty casual people, didn't really worry about it. I do my stitches so the front looks the same, like all my X's are going in the same direction on the front. And I try to weave underneath previous stitches as much as possible when I'm carrying thread, because as an in-hand stitcher, if I pull those carried threads too tightly, that'll make the front of the piece like ripply, and I don't want that. So I do need to be careful about that. But it does look messy sometimes. So it's just kind of the way it is, and I don't personally put a lot of effort into what my back looks like. That being said, it's probably a neater back than some because I don't knot my threads. I don't carry my stitches a ton. I do some. So it's probably in the middle as far as neatness goes. So I will try to remember to show you on these next few. And then I have one more thing at the end that I need to remember. This is helping me remind. So going forward, this month in April in Enchanted Stitching is the movie Cars by Pixar. So the first set of challenges is all about the race at the beginning. And let's see, the first one was pick the 3 main competitors were Lightning McQueen, the King, and Chick Hicks. Strip Withers, I think, is the King's real name in the show. So those 3 were red, blue, and green. So pick one of those characters and stitch on something with their color. So I'm going to pick the King, who is the previous winner. I'm going to stitch on blue, or the previous champion, you know, in previous years, because I want to make sure to get out Quick Stitch Iris this week, because I want to really try to get these monthly pieces, make sure it's off to the side for a little bit. I want to make sure these monthly pieces I get work as close to that person's birth date as possible, just so that I don't forget to do it. Because sometimes that happens, and at the end of the month I'm like, I gotta do all of these still. So I'm still working in parked threads, but because I'm working only on blues for this prompt, I'll just only do the colors in here that are blue, and then if I run out of blue parked threads, I'll do more regular blue to get to at least 250 or beyond. So we'll see. And this is the one that I will be working on during Monogamous Mania. Let me give you a picture. If I finish, if and when I finish Quick Stitch Anne of Green Gables. So this is the full Quick Stitch Iris by Josephine Wall. And I just saw somebody on the Heaven and Earth Facebook group today who was working on the full version, and I don't remember what that one's called, but it's huge, and it's got this big lady in the middle, and this is in the bottom corner, and she had that part finished, so I was like, hey, that's cool. So, and here's my back. This is what this one looks like on a full coverage piece. And I had been doing a lot of different styles with this one. So I'd been diagonally parking. So sometimes I was carrying more just to get to the other areas. And sometimes I carry, you know, as I'm doing cross country, trying to be careful to not pull when I'm carrying. And I also, most of the time, I don't carry much longer than an inch, if I can help it. Sometimes it's a little more than that, but if you're stitching on something small, this is 25 count, 1/1. That 25 stitches is a pretty far distance for 1 inch, so you can really get away with carrying a decent amount sometimes on your chart because you're stitching in a low count fabric. So that's my back on one of the full coverage pieces. And that's Quick Stitch Iris, so I'll hopefully get a nice chunk on that one done. I may shoot for 500 on that one since it's a family piece, if I have time this week. Another one was Lightning is the youngest Piston Cup something or other winner or whatever, so work on your most recent start, your youngest project. So that would be the one I started on the first day of spring, which is my Spring Floral Cross by Janlin. So this was a given. I didn't really have to pick, figure out what would fit the prompt because it's very clear. I know when I started this one. So this is what this looks like now. This is on Kit Ada 14 count, 2/1 on 14 count. And I did one color in each of these flowers moving up. I started in the middle and I'm working my way up. So there's some more sticks sticking out and then some, I'll do some back stitching probably. So I'll work on at least one color in the sticks, maybe get some back stitching. I'll try to get most of my progress done, on that top row of pattern, which I think will be cool. So at least 250 on this. And I didn't count my stitches last time because it's kind of a bonus project. So this time I will count my stitches, see how much I get. Here's my back on this one. Pretty neat because they're big blocks of color. You can see where I carry a little bit and I run my stitches. I run my beginning and ending threads underneath the previous stitches. And I usually, with DMC, I'll stitch, I don't know what it's called, English style? Maybe that's the opposite. I don't know. When you do one leg this way all the way to the end and then one leg all the way back and then move to the next line and do the first leg and then the next leg. If I'm doing a solid color thread, that's how I stitch, and that's how you get these clean up and down lines on the back. When I stitch with variegated threads, I'll do the full X, full X, full X, full X as I go, and that has a thicker back because of the way the back will look. I will show you on my tree because my trunk has a variegated thread, so it's thicker, and not just up and down. Like you'll see some of the leaves, you can see more of those up and down stitches, but the trunk is thicker because it's got one up and down and one sideways, I think, on the back for each stitch. So that's what it looks like for a variegated thread when you stitch one X at a time. Some people like to stitch one X at a time for everything. Some people stitch the first leg down, next leg back, even with variegated thread. So there is a wide variety of how you stitch. Doesn't really matter, just however you like to do it. I like to see the maximum amount of variegation when I'm using a variegated thread because it kind of makes it worthwhile for me. So I'm willing to stitch one X at a time when I do that because it'll give you the most amount of variegation. But other people who can't stand doing one X at a time just don't. And they're usually pretty happy with their results too. So, okay, the next one, McQueen ties the race by sticking his tongue out. So you had to work on something with a tongue. So I'm going to work on my Heaven and Earth Designs Nativity because it's one of the ones I had picked for I'm trying to be alphabetical here and think. This one gets stuck in here. Full Coverage Fanatics Around the World prompt for Egypt. One of the suggested things to fit with Egypt was palm trees, and this one has palm trees. And this little family will eventually live in Egypt when the baby's a little bit bigger to avoid King Herod. And so this one worked pretty well for that. The other one I picked for Egypt is The End of the Ball, just because one of the suggested things for Egypt was royalty, and I have a hard time fitting this one into any prompts because it's not really specific enough with anything to fit. So I figured they could be dancing at a royal ball. So there you go. So that's the other one I want to get work on this month at some point, but not this week. And so this is where my nativity is now. I have one page finished, so I'll need to start on another page. And that's where I'm at. I think it looks really cool. This is on 28 count Monaco that I had bought at Joann's or something back when they still sold it. So this has been done in cross country within columns, where I'll stitch everything in a column and feather into the next column if the color keeps going, so that I don't get column lines. So that's how I've been doing it. With Pattern Keeper now, it may get a little bit more cross country than just within the columns. So we'll see what it looks like after that. This is the most awesome detail on that palm tree. And then this is the beginning of one of the wise men's head, his little headdress thing. So that's cool. And oh yeah, my back. I knew there was something else I wanted to show you. So here's my back on this one. So again, a little bit messy. You can see some of the areas, you can see the up and down stitches where it was lighter, and the confetti bits, it's kind of a mess, but that's what you get with confetti. So there's my back, and I don't have very many trailing threads because I'm just parking in the next column. And if I had something down here and I'm parking it up here, I usually tie it off and do a new one. Or, you know, if there's some, yeah, anyways. So I don't like to like run it all the way back up. I'll do a little bit in the middle sometimes, but if there's one here and the next color is way up here, I usually will cut it and park it up here instead. So that's that one. So hopefully with both of these Full Coverage Fanatics pieces, I'll get 2 rotations per month on them. So we'll see. This week I'm doing this one. I'll do the other one another time. There'll probably need to be a week where I'll do both at some point, because we already used up kind of a good chunk of April. Well, the last week in April is mostly April, and this might be like a pop-up weekend challenge, so I could probably do like every other, if maybe depending on how the challenges go, do like nativity, end of the ball, nativity, end of the ball, something like that each week, so I can get some variety but still get 2 rotations on them in the month. Was that all of them? Nope, it's not. These ones. Then the last one is work on something. Lightning McQueen's pit crew all quit on him because they were frustrated with how he ignored their advice, and so they said work on a project that you have been tempted to quit because you're disgusted with it. And I have quite a few actually that have at some point or another I've been disgusted with them and are tempted to stop working on them. This is my old list of pictures. It's a couple of these are done now. I have a few more new ones, so it's not completely accurate, but I was looking through it and there is some that I just don't feel like working on sometimes. Like Adia, I've had issues with her because she has a lot of confetti in her hair area. Ashley's Roses, again, probably because I'm stuck at the top, hasn't been as fun, although I'm tempted to get her out this month. Chaplin's Garden is the one that won. It's really old, lots of confetti, often tempted to end it and does not work on it anymore, but my parents gifted it to me. They gave me a mat or a frame. I think I'd need to cut my own circle mat, but they gifted me a frame with it. It's kind of sentimental. And then recently I went back and started to highlight my chart, and that made it easier. So I am going to stick with it, but it's one that I was disgusted with at one point. This one, Daisy Girl, I was disgusted with and then brought it back for a prompt last year and thought, it's not too bad. And I've already pulled it out for one of the prompts that was similar to this year. This one, even though I'm doing it for my mom, the coverage isn't great. So at some points I'm like, do I really want to do this? This one was lost for a while, so I wasn't disgusted with it. This one kind of was disgusted a little bit with the parking. I'm working through that now. This one's really hard that I adopted from my sister-in-law, and it's just really, really, really confetti heavy and a little bit hard to read the chart. So that one's frustrating sometimes. This one, frustrated with the material, restarted it. Same with this one, frustrated with the material, restarted it, frustrated with the chart, but fixed it. This one, frustrated with it, restarted it with a cropped version. This one, frustrated with the background. I'm tempted to maybe try to take the background out myself, but I'm afraid she might look funny if I because of the colors. I think she'll look better with the background, but I'm also tempted to restart her on something smaller with Pattern Keeper, so we'll see. And this one, I almost was tempted to stop because it's got too many details and super confetti heavy, but I'm gonna stick with it and see if Pattern Keeper makes me re-love it again. This one I lost for a while. This one's taken me forever, but I do still like it. This one, I come and go with whether or not I want to work on it because I think it'll look really pretty in our house and my husband will like having it up, but it's not that fun to work on because there's not very many colors. This one I restarted too on new fabric. So there's like a lot of them that have at one point or another frustrated me. So, but Chaplin's Garden won out because I felt like, you know what, this is spring, you know, a spring garden in this, you know, scene, and it could be fun to work on now. This is mostly full coverage, but not full coverage enough to count for full coverage fanatics. I tested it because this sky is not stitched, and it was like a couple percents lower than, I think they say if it's 95% full coverage, it counts. And it was like 92 or 91 or something like that. I'm like, whatever. So it doesn't count for full coverage fanatics, but it, it'll work for a whip that has frustrated me. So we'll see how far I can get this time to get this back farther out of prison. I actually have a decent amount done on it. This is Kit Ada, 14 count light blue. So I'll put this off to the side and then I'll bring it closer. So in the past, when I first started it, I worked a lot on the house, and then at some point I came down here and worked on the grass a little bit. And then last time I worked on it, I came up here and worked on sky. Yeah, they're full crosses up there in the sky. Just because I wanted to work top down, and I am now highlighting my chart, and I think that will be helpful. So I'm not sure where I'll want to work once I get my chart out, but probably I would like to continue to work top down. So it might be more clouds, it might be tree. I'm not really sure what the chart will look like and draw me to, but I will try to get at least 250 stitches on this, which is also one of my oldest whips. It ties with my my shoes. There's a few really old ones. The antique shoe collection, which I worked on last time, I'm gonna say is my oldest whip. I don't actually know. This one could be one of my oldest whips. This one could be one of my oldest whips. This one could be one. I know I started this just after Thanksgiving, my freshman year of college. So I have a memory of this one, but these other ones could have been high school. I'm not sure. This one, the needlepoint kitties in the library, that one was college or high school. So, yeah, I don't think any of those other ones. This is another one that's really old, college or high school. So, there's a few that are so old that I don't know when I started them. So anyways, this one will get worked on this week a little bit. So, I think that's everything. I think I showed you what I'm going to work on. Yes. So, now for the fun part. I realized when I went in to edit last week that I have passed 7,000 subscribers on this channel, which is kind of mind-blowing. It's just amazing to me that we can have such a connection over the internet with our hobby. Been stitching for probably more than, I guess, close to 30 years, off and on. I learned about 30 years ago, and so most of that time was by myself, maybe with my mom or my sister or my friend, but mostly by myself. And now there are 7,000 people that I can share this with, and I really enjoy hearing back from you to get encouragement and advice and answer questions to encourage you or give you advice. And so it's a really fun two-way street, especially right now when this is really all we have. We have a lot of online ways to connect with each other, and that's such a blessing right now to continue with this hobby and this way of connecting with people all over the world when we're all stuck in our homes. So I wasn't sure what to do because I don't really want to ship things out right now. And thought about trying to design something, but I'm not really a very creative designer, I guess. Designing is hard work for me. I'm not, like, I see Jordan, a little Stitch Girl Designs and Basic Stitches here on Flosstube. She's got so many ideas just mulling around and she just spits them out. And that's just not me. I'm not creative. I like these temperature things because they're very structured in some ways and more mathematical, and that's definitely how my mind works. I'm not as creative. So that didn't happen. But what I thought I could do is I'll do a giveaway for 7 PDF charts from my shop. And so 7 winners, and each winner will get to pick one. It doesn't matter how expensive it is. It could be a temperature piece, it could be one of the other ones. So I'll have 7 winners next week. I'll probably just leave it open for 1 week so I don't forget about it. So that's why this reminded me, because this is one of my charts. I also have 3 other temperature pieces, and I have a few that are just like poems and emperors and things. Well, I got interrupted by a telemarketer, so hopefully it kept my old content and I don't have to refilm it. But back to the giveaway. In order to enter, I think I will have you tell me what you're working on right now, like your cross-stitch project. What's your favorite WIP, work in progress, that you're working on right now? So that's a hard question for me because I don't know that I have one. I'm kind of like whatever I'm currently stitching at the moment. I'm really happy with Anne because it's getting so close to a finish. But I'd be hard pressed to tell you a favorite. I like a lot of my projects, so, which is a good thing. Anyways, so tell me your favorite, the word favorite I'll look for. Tell me your favorite project that you're working on right now, and you can be entered to win a PDF chart from my Etsy shop. If you don't know what's in there, you can head over there and look around first. And then next week I'll draw 7 names, and then I'll email you whichever one you choose of the PDF options over there. So that'll be fun. That'll be what we can do in this time to kind of keep, it'll be open internationally because it's just emailed and I don't have to worry about transferring germs through the post office. And I'm really thankful that the post office and the delivery services are all up and running. That's really nice. So kudos to all those people who are out on the front lines as well during this time. So making it possible for more of us to stay home. But I don't want to contribute to more things in the mail. So that'll be what I'll do for you guys. And then, so I look forward to hearing what you are working on right now. And if you can say like the name of it and the designer or the brand or whatever, because then maybe I'll look it up and get enabled. Like I need any more enabling. So anyways, I think that's it for today, and I hope to see you again next week. And in the meantime, I hope you're enjoying what you're stitching, that you're able to have time to stitch. If you're still out there working, it might be harder for you to find time to stitch, but I hope that you can find some time to kind of de-stress and relax and get some stitching in. So, and with that, have a wonderful week and happy stitching. Bye.